As NASA turns its focus to the moon, they want to grow a thriving commercial market in low Earth orbit. One way they want to do this is by applying the successful formula of their commercial cargo and crew programs to other elements such as space stations. With the ISS starting to age out, it isn't going to last much longer, especially with Russia trying their hardest to break it every month. In today's video, we will take a look at the commercial proposals to replace the ISS that NASA is currently considering as part of their CLD program. This episode is brought to you by CuriosityStream, a subscription streaming service that offers thousands of documentaries and non-fiction titles from some of the world's best filmmakers, including exclusive originals. CuriosityStream is also extremely affordable at under $20 a year. That's just $1.67 per month. I highly recommend the Origami Code, which dives deep into the folding patterns observed in nature and the current and future application these techniques will have in cutting-edge technologies. Maybe I'm just trying to calm my nerves ahead of James Webb's launch, but if you want to check it out for yourself, go to curiositystream.com/apogee for unlimited access to the world's top documentaries and nonfiction series. If you want to help support the channel, use promo code APOGEE and you will save 25%. That's only $14.99 for the whole year. Just $1.25 per month. Compare that to other streaming services. Now back to the video. With the Commercial LEO Destination Programs, CLD, NASA wants to phase away from the ISS into commercially owned and operated platforms in low Earth orbit that are available to both government and private sector customers. NASA wants to be one of many customers for these destinations. Stepping back, we can see the full transition. In the past, NASA's own vehicle transported their own astronauts and cargo to their own station. Currently, NASA partners with the private sector. Commercial vehicles transport NASA's astronauts and cargo, as well as private astronauts and cargo, to NASA's ISS. In the future commercial LEO economy, NASA wants commercial entities to be the supplier of the destination as well. These commercial LEO destinations will be made across two phases. The first, spanning 2022 to 2025, is for the development of the stations, and the second phase is the operations phase. After the destinations are functional, NASA will pay the commercial entities for ongoing services. So for phase 1, which we are currently in, NASA wants to select 2 to 4 stations for awards, but it reserves the right to choose just one. The criteria NASA will use to select these stations falls into 2 categories: business plan and technical approach. The business plan side of this competition seems to be very important to NASA, perhaps even more important than the technical side. It involves stuff like a business strategy to prove how the station could be successful in the marketplace, and a financial plan for how the team will pay for the development of the station. The teams must have private investment and list the sources of that investment in their proposals. Obviously, it's going to be a little hard for me to compare companies' business plans because I don't have any access to that sort of information. But once these CLDs are selected and we know more, I will definitely be back to cover it. So a lot of my analysis is going to fall on the technical side, which we also don't have a lot of official information on, but is much easier to speculate about. Technical approach boils down to, does the team have a reasonable plan and capability to develop a station that meets NASA's requirements, which are accommodations for at least 2 NASA crew at all times, host 200 NASA experiments per year, both internal and external experiments with all of the capabilities of the ISS lab, accommodate crew and payloads of other customers, be safe, reliable, and cost-effective, eventually allow for continuous human presence. They don't have to do this from the start while the ISS is still in use, but it's heavily preferred. And finally, there are some stretch goals which are basically nice to have. One of these is the ability to perform exploration analog missions on the LEO destination that can simulate deep space transportation conditions, isolating the crew from other CLD activity, basically allowing NASA astronauts to practice flights to the moon or Mars while on board the station. And my personal favorite, artificial partial gravity, the capability to perform up to human-scale artificial gravity, either for experiments or as a countermeasure to the effects of microgravity on crew health. Man, I really wish this was a full requirement. Anyways, let's dive right in with our contestants. It's only right to start with Axiom. They have been working in the private space station arena since before it was cool. Their station concept is perhaps a bit basic compared to others, but that may not be a bad thing. It seems like it will have no problem checking all of NASA's boxes. What's not basic at all is the team behind this company. Axiom is led by Michael Suffredini, who was the International Space Station Program Manager for 10 years, and Dr. Cam Ghaffarian, who founded Stinger Ghaffarian Technologies, which is the entity that trained NASA astronauts and operated the ISS as well. The Axiom space station modules are even being built by Thales Alenia, the same company who built many ISS modules. Just as noteworthy as their team is their unique plan for building out their station, which is already underway. Instead of building the station out in space on its own, Axiom plans to piggyback off of the ISS by adding their modules to the ISS station and eventually break away from the station when ready. This is a pretty smart move. It means their first station module doesn't have to be a fully fledged standalone space station, meaning they can start flying hardware fast. They already have the contracts to add their modules to the ISS, so they are wasting no time. Additionally, Axiom is flying a private crew, Axiom 1, to the ISS early next year with SpaceX, gaining invaluable experience in human spaceflight operations early. By the looks of it, the station will take about 5 launches to complete, and these launches could go on any vehicle really, Falcon or Vulcan. That would garner a launch cost of $350 to $500 million, which is a small price to pay compared to the $50.4 billion it costs to launch the ISS with 36 shuttle flights, but still not too bad. While we don't have official numbers on the internal volume of Axiom Station, my estimate based on module sizes is about 350 to 450 cubic meters. Axiom says the full station can support up to 16 crew members, and that their pressurized payload is similar to the ISS, which I read as being less than, because if it was more, you would brag about that. But yeah, overall, a great station concept. Simple, far along in development, and headed by a really strong team. Now for the elephant in the room, Orbital Reef. Blue Origin has yet again assembled a team of space's mightiest contractors. The idea behind Orbital Reef is to be a business park in space, somewhere many entities can operate together with a shared infrastructure. Just like a coral reef provides a foundation for all kinds of life to attach to it and grow, the Orbital Reef wants all kinds of businesses to attach to their core modules and grow. The idea is to lower the barrier of operating in space by providing key infrastructure to those who want to join. The team members each play an important role in that. Blue Origin is providing launch capability to build the station with their heavy lift New Glenn rocket. But more importantly, Blue is building the backbone of the station, which are these 6.2 meter diameter core modules. These core modules are big, much bigger than the ISS, and about as big as can fit inside of the massive 7-meter New Glenn fairing. These core modules provide most essential needs for the station, such as power, thermal management, and more. Just attach whatever you have to this core and you're in business. This is where Sierra Space comes in. They will be attaching their life modules to this backbone, greatly increasing their internal volume of the station. Life modules are inflatable habitats that have 300 cubic meters of interior space each, which is a lot. Sierra will also be providing transportation to and from the station with their Dream Chaser spacecraft, cargo initially and later crew. Boeing rounds out the big 3 members. They will be operating and maintaining the station, as well as providing crew access with their Starliner. Other members include Redwire Space, which will support microgravity research and make solar panels, and Genesis Engineering Solutions, who is providing this insanely cool excursion vehicle, which is basically a simpler and, in my opinion, better EVA suit for external activity. With the national team, it was clear that the focus was far more political than technical, as you can tell by the name National Team. The proposal was politically strong, but technically just barely checked the boxes required for HLS. Honestly, I, along with most people at the time, thought that would be enough, and in fairness, it kinda was. That team ran immediately to Congress when they lost, and now NASA is mandated by Congress to have a second HLS, so yeah. Still, I think Blue would just prefer to win in the traditional way this time, and I don't think this is a repeat of National Team. Yet again, Blue has assembled a politically strong team, but unlike the last time, the proposal appears technically sound as well. While still being a traditional style station, it isn't a bare minimum approach. To be honest, it's the most ambitious offer we have seen for a CLD. Large, clean slate design core modules with huge inflatable habitats attached to them. The base configuration alone is 830 cubic meters, which is already the biggest we've talked about. And they can continually expand the station in a straightforward manner by simply attaching more central core modules, developing new plots of land for business to attach to. The base configuration could be built in as little as 3 launches based on the volumes they list, and the configuration they show in all of their promotions, which I estimate to have a volume of around 2,200 cubic meters, seems like it would take around 11 launches. And given that these launches would mostly be on New Glenn, you're looking at a price of around $300 million for the base configuration and up to about $1.1 billion for the huge station. Flexibility seems to be a big focus and strength of this station. The future of business in low Earth orbit is not well known at this time, so designing a station with the ability to adapt will be very important. A large station where a ton of NASA's commercial partners are coexisting in harmony is a dream come true replacement of the ISS for NASA. Time will tell, but I think they've got a very strong proposal. Before we go on to the next one, just a quick tangent about this station. Blue Origin. This is what you should be doing. Your company vision is to have millions of people living and working in space. Habitation modules should be your bread and butter. This is far more central to your goal than launch vehicles, and especially more than lunar landers. So I hope to see you fight even harder for this than you have for HLS. If this proposal is funded, I hope you take this core module and run with it. I want you to propose more stations, moon bases, and everything else. Honestly, actually, even if it's not funded, just do this. You're super rich. Rant over. Next, we'll look at Starlab. The Starlab team is made up of NanoRacks and Lockheed Martin. NanoRacks is a company with a strong history of partnership with the ISS and has been a major player in the modern, more commercial era of the ISS we're in today. Their latest work being the Bishop airlock, which is attached to the station last year. Lockheed Martin will be providing most of the physical components, like the inflatable habitat, which is the entirety of the station. The business plan of Starlab should be sound. Voyager Space, the owner of NanoRacks, will lead strategy and capital investment, which is what Voyager Space does since it's a space investment company. The station is a single piece that takes just a single launch, so the investment to get it built and operating shouldn't be too severe to begin with. The negative side of that is that Starlab is quite small, by far the smallest out of the public CLD bids. It has about 1/3 the internal volume of the ISS, which is certainly enough for some NASA astronauts and a few other guests, but the limited size is still a concern for me. Even if it hits all the NASA requirements, I'm not sure this limited space would really help grow the LEO commercial market. And honestly, if it turns out we can only afford to have one commercial LEO destination, I hope it's a bit bigger than this. Now for our wildcard contestant, which is SpaceX. Although a SpaceX station has not been officially confirmed, we know SpaceX is listed as an interested party for CLD. If they did submit a bid, it is most likely a Starship variant specialized for its role as a space station. And there are two ways that this could be done, both only requiring a single Starship launch. The first and easiest would be to simply outfit the payload bay of Starship with an interior and docking points. The interior volume of Starship is already more than the ISS. The second method is more difficult, but it would vastly increase that volume from 1,000 cubic meters to 3,300 cubic meters by wet labbing the fuel tanks of Starship. Basically what this means is you have a minimal interior built inside of the tanks, and once you have reached orbit, you can drain the remaining fuel out of the tanks and then access this interior as additional pressurized living space. Either way you go, it's honestly a bit annoying how good of a bid like this would be. Even the smaller volume version is the biggest base option of any station proposed. The interior and life support systems work will already have a head start thanks to their Crew Dragon and HLS Starship development. SpaceX already has years of experience flying cargo and crew to and from the ISS, and they have full in-house capability of serving their station with Falcon 9, Cargo Dragon, and Crew Dragon. So on the technical side, it's just a very solid proposal, and the business side is much the same. SpaceX has years of experience selling their NASA partnership space products to private customers, which is exactly what NASA needs and wants. On top of that, SpaceX wouldn't have any trouble having investors fund their CLD. So the only question is, did they propose something? Is operating a station in low Earth orbit something SpaceX even wants to deal with everything else they have going on? On one hand, I could see them deciding that this is too much of a distraction. On the other hand, they offered up a Starship variant for HLS and just won billions of dollars for that. Why pass up the opportunity for more money that can go to your Mars ambitions and the potential for another politically powerful contract? So now that we've taken a look at all the contenders, let's put up a final comparison of all the stations we've looked at. Keeping in mind, I have no real way of assessing the different business plans, it's just what I suspect would be the case. And also, that we don't know for sure if the Starship Station was even bid. I'm not going to do a formal ranking, but I will go over my thoughts on which stations are my favorites and which ones I think NASA will choose. So for my ranking, starting from the bottom, I have to go with Starlab. It's not bad, it's very achievable and meets all of NASA's needs, and I feel like the business plan side will be strong as well. However, I think Starlab has the least potential for stimulating and growing a LEO economy. Its strong suit of being easy to achieve and deploy is a double-edged sword because it also limits its potential in my eyes. Moving up, I have to put Axiom Station next. There is nothing wrong with this station. In fact, it basically does everything right, which just goes to show you how strong all of these bids are. Axiom meets all of NASA's needs and would probably be successful in growing the LEO economy. The team behind it and the business plan are also the best of the bunch, and to top it all off, they're the furthest ahead. However, it's also pretty conventional, basically just a modern, smaller ISS with these skinny modules. All the other stations employ expanding habitats or large volume pressure vessels and so on. Next for me, although it probably shouldn't count, would be the hypothetical Starship Station. It's just solid all around, huge volume, little development, trivial to set up, and SpaceX can offer end-to-end services all in-house, so it would probably be the lowest operational cost of all bids. But my personal best has to go to Orbital Reef. I feel like this team has the best game plan for helping to grow the LEO economy, an open and flexible architecture where anyone can join in. It meets all the NASA requirements, will have no business plan issues, and it's still ambitious. Large modules from Blue Origin, and even larger expanding modules from Sierra. The renders they show are by far the biggest of any proposed station and over twice the volume of the ISS. The only fear I have with this bid is potential operating cost with all these somewhat infamous contractors involved. Not you, Sierra. but hopefully that's not a problem. Now, who do I think NASA will select? The one that I would be shocked to not see chosen has to be Axiom. The team behind it and the practical plan that's already in motion, I mean, this thing feels real, and I just can't think of any fatal flaws. So I think they have a strong chance. I think NASA will try to pick 2 here, and if they have the funding, I think Orbital Reef will get the nod. The only thing keeping NASA from picking this dream come true CLD would be the lack of funding. So Blue, I hope you gave NASA your best offer during the competition this time, and not after you lose. I'll wrap things up with my final thoughts. The most pressing matter of all with the CLD program is ensuring that they are up and ready before the ISS is decommissioned. We don't want to lose a streak of nearly 30 years of presence in low Earth orbit. I'm not too concerned with this, however. First off, the ISS can maybe last longer on its last legs than we think, and nothing motivates Congress like a Red Scare. With China having their own station, funding for this program should be solid. We just have to ensure that it's not underfunded in the early development years like Commercial Crew was. NASA's selection should be coming out any day now, and when it does, I'll definitely have some stuff to say about it, so make sure you subscribe if you want to see that. The next video will be episode 2 of the Starship series. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.